Welcome to today's Optics Trade Debates. Theodore,
Today, hello.
we are going to discuss a couple of basic features of field target scopes, which are a separate category on our webpage. So we received quite a lot of questions, especially can I use a field target scope for long range, can I use a long range target scope for field target, and so on. So there is quite a lot of misunderstanding in this category. I know that those who do field target shooting, they already know all the basics, they know everything. But for all those people who are not familiar with field target shooting as a sport, for all those, I think this video will shed a little light on this topic to explain just the basics, what field target is and what are the general features of scopes which are intended for field target shooting. So today I think you went through most of the questions we received in the last couple of years regarding this topic, and we can just start. What are the main questions?
Well, of course, it doesn't get more any basic than that. What basically is a field target rifle scope?
Well, in the past, most of the people who were shooting field target were using scopes which were meant for F-class, so long-range F-class scopes, a majority of them. There were a couple of exceptions of producers which were producing dedicated field target scopes, like Nico Sterling, for instance, but still these were in minority. So the trend of, I would say, purposely built field target scopes started just recently, 2-3 years ago, not before. To explain a little bit about the field target as a sport, the field target shooting is shooting with air guns, with PCP guns, so with compressed air, on distances from 7 meters or from 5 meters to 70 meters. It's conducted in open spaces, in nature, so in the field, and it's really, I would say, challenging. This type of shooting is really challenging because you have different distances, you have wind, you have a lot of influences, and with an air gun, all these influences are really, they do influence the path of the bullet, so they do influence the ballistics. And sometimes field target shooting, let's say on 50 meters, can be much more challenging than F-class shooting at 300 meters, because all the elements and everything is far more influential on the bullet trajectory than when you have center bore powerful calibers on longer distances. So basically, field target scopes have the following features, if I just do the summary. First of all, they have really high magnification. Those we have on table here are two dedicated field target scopes, the Schmidt & Bender Field Target 2. This is the latest 2018 model. It was introduced already in 2017 or maybe even 2016, I think, but now they're finally starting the production and the first production models are leaving the factory. So this one, then we have the Cytron for field target, 10 to 50 by 60, the Cytron S3. And then we have an F-class scope, which is also used on field target quite a lot, is the March 8 to 80. So all of these scopes have a really high magnification. The reason for that is that when you have an extremely high magnification, you can judge the distance to the target with the parallax. So it means, we usually say that when you have written numbers on the parallax, they are never actually true. But we are thinking about this when we are talking about longer distances, because the parallax difference between 300 and the difference in the setting of the parallax between 300 and 500 meters, it's really small. But between 10 and 30 meters, it's really big. So field target scopes, first of all, have to have extremely high magnification, because then it's really easy to set the correct parallax so that the image is completely sharp. And second of all, they have to have the parallax which goes down to 10 meters or even less, optimal to 7 meters. So that the parallax range, adjustment range, starts at 7 meters. Usually, majority of people who are using field target scopes, they have side focus parallax, and they're using these big wheels so that they can write on the numbers for the distances, and then when they put the scope on the maximum magnification, and when they set the correct parallax to the target, then they just read on this big wheel at which distance the target is. And when you know the distance, you can calculate the bullet drop and apply the correct number of clicks. And you can calculate the wind drift if you know the wind, and normally do the correction on the windage. So high magnification and parallax which goes down to 7 meters, preferably with a big wheel. This Schmidt and Bender is the perfect example how this is done. So you have a really big wheel for parallax. This one is even magnetic. It's really nice how it works, like this. And then you have you read the distances here on this scale. So when you're setting the parallax, when the image is completely clear and sharp, then you know that you set the parallax correctly. And then you just read down the number which you have written on this wheel, and you know at which distance is the target. This is something what each field target shooter must do before they start to compete with their rifle scope. They have to measure all the distances and do the correct numbering on the wheel. So they have to do this really precisely. The same goes here with this Citron. Even though the Citron doesn't have the same scale to, well, how to say, it doesn't have this pin which the Schmidt and Bender does. This pin where you could do a really accurate readout of the distance.
Well, I know quite some F-class rifle scopes with extra high magnifications and some bench-rest scopes, etc. Which basically are the field target rifle scope. Can any rifle scope be a field target scope or not?
It has to have the parallax which goes down to 7 meters, so even closer, and it has to have magnification over 40. This is if we speak about general, because there are many F-class scopes like this, target scopes, which can be used for field target. And then there are those, like this dude here, which are made especially for field target. And they're a little bit different. Basically, all field target scopes which are purposely built for field target are normally usable for field target, while only some of the target scopes, F-class scopes, can be used also in field target. Not all of them. And almost no field target scopes can be used in F-class, because usually they have a parallax adjustment range only from 7 meters or 10 meters to 150 or 200 meters, but not above. So when you're going on an F-class and you shoot on 500 meters, you ran out of parallax because there is.
So basically on field target rifle scopes, the parallax which goes from 7 meters and to 100 meters is very finely adjustable.
Yeah.
And for this purpose, they don't fit as a F-class rifle scope.
Yeah.
What about this Schmidt and Bender? I know this one has a parallax of, I think, 1,000 meters.
Yeah, this one is really interesting. First of all, like most of these scopes, it starts at roughly 10 meters, and until 70 meters, you already have 180 degrees of turn. So this is really, so you do half of turn only from 10 meters to 70 meters, where it's the most important. And this is what makes field target scopes, this is one of the features that makes them suitable for this sport, because the adjustment from 10 meters to 70 is really precise, and there is a lot of travel. That means that the distances will have some space between them when you write the distances, because of this extended travel. Because you have a lot of travel, that means that you have a lot of space for really accurate reading of the distance. With some F-class scopes which start, let's say, at 30 meters, and then they go from 30 to 100 meters in 2 millimeters, they're not usable for field target shooting, because you will never be able to accurately read the distance, because the settings are so fine, too fine, or I would say there is not enough travel between 10 meters and 70, 80 meters, which is the maximum for field target shooting.
I presume that there are not quite many manufacturers which produce field target rifle scopes. This one is Schmidt and Bender, this one is Citron.
Kahles also produces. Kahles produces their dedicated model for field target. Nico Sterling still produces scopes for field target, and that's about it, I think. Maybe I forgot some. I definitely did. probably a brand or two, but these are the main players in the premium class, in the top quality class, and these are all really expensive scopes. If we speak about Schmidt & Bender and Kahles, they are around 3,000 euros. Cytron is a little bit less, it's around 1,500 euros. So these are expensive scopes for a really specific purpose.
I think also Hawk also makes a field target rifle scope, but I'm not sure which series. I think it does. Yeah. I think the Sidewinder, the new one. But I don't think it's of the price class of these two rifle scopes.
In the lower price classes, when you go below 1,000 euros or below 1,500 euros, there are some additional choices, but usually they have a little bit of problems with accuracy, with tracking and so on, because normally it's hard to make a really good scope for 500 euros. It's almost impossible.
If we just a bit more return to this big parallax wheel, you mentioned that the shooter marks the distances. Yeah. Is this the only purpose of this wheel, or does it suit any other purpose?
Well, setting the correct parallax, so you don't have the parallax error when you go left or right, up and
just
down.
The wheel.
It has to be the reticle has to be in dead center. But the main purpose of the wheel is to read the distances. If you do on all other features, most of the field target scopes have illumination, which F-class scopes usually don't, because you don't need an illumination in F-class. You always shoot in
broad daylight,
in perfect lighting conditions. They usually feature 30mm tube, even though the Schmidt & Bender features 34. The clicks are usually 1/8 of MOA, and the reticle, some come with the first focal plane, some come with the second focal plane. Second focal plane is a little bit more common. The first focal plane can be ordered in Schmidt & Bender, while the Cytron and Kahles, they both came with a second focal plane only.
This is quite interesting, because basically because you're shooting on a not so much long distance, 100 meters. So that's
if you're shooting on 35 meters, you think it's really close, but in field target it's not easy, because also the targets are super small, and sometimes if the field target competition is held in the forest, you can need the reticle illumination, because there are low light situations. If the target is in low light, I would say area, you will need reticle illumination. The turrets also, as you can see, the Cytron has cap turrets. Kahles and Schmidt & Bender, they have tactical open turrets. They usually feature zero stop. They feature different turn indicators. They're really the right scopes. They're serious scopes. Even though they're put on the air guns, they're really serious, and sometimes far more advanced than normal F-class scopes or tactical scopes.
So if we take this parallax wheel out of the account, they pretty much look like a F-class or bench rest rifle scopes.
There is one difference, that many of them come in silver, because one of the main influences which can spoil your shooting is the temperature. Because if the scope has a different temperature when you measured and wrote all the distances on the wheel, and then on the competition you again have a totally different temperatures, this can change. And this is the reason why many of field target scopes come in silver, because then they don't heat up as much as the black scopes. So this is the reason. And also many air guns are silver, so they come aesthetically. They are nicer if you have a silver scope on a silver rifle. But the main thing which it is temperature. Because you're shooting outside in the field on the sun, if the sun is very bright and the bright sunlight is intensive, then it will heat up the scope. And then this measuring of the distance with this big wheel can fall apart if the scope is not performing equally and in the same way as it did at lower temperatures.
If we go a bit more forward to the mounting, does this parallax wheel have any influence on mounting this rifle scope on a rifle or not? I think
no,
it's quite some space.
On air guns, they're usually quite narrow, so there is always enough space on the left side for the parallax wheel. normally on F-class rifles, if you put this on F-class, you could have problems because the stocks are much more wide on F-class, and these are not scoped for F-class. You can use an F-class scope for field target. You're in 99% of the cases you're not able to use field target scopes on an
F-class. It doesn't go vice versa.
Yeah.
99%.
So it goes only one way.
Okay.
And I presume that in the future there will be many more of producers who will go into making a dedicated field target scope, because now there are 4 big players, I would say. So the Schmidt & Bender, Cytron, Kales, and Nico Sterling. I presume that this will change in the future, that at least 1 or 2 new players will join the caravan and start producing high quality dedicated field target scopes from the premium class.
Well, I think that's about it.
I think we covered. So
if you have any additional questions regarding field target rifle scopes, we know that for basically most hunters or users of rifle scopes, this is a quite new
topic.
New topic. So if you have any additional questions regarding this matter, feel free to write us an email or simply subscribe to our YouTube channel or leave a comment below. Take care. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye.